please give it up for Miss Julie Soller. Give it up for Julie, y'all.
All right. That's why it goes like this. All right, how's everybody doing today? So before I tell this story, I want you guys to know it's quite a coincidence that today, June 3rd, is my mother's birthday. And she would have been 70. Just to put that out there. I'm very proud to tell this story today. So, when I arrived at SFO Airport, I had hash in my bag. But my bag did not come out on the luggage carousel. It was missing. And my heart started pounding because I had just come back from Amsterdam with hash in my bag. Now, this is all very ironic because I started getting those just say no messages back in high school, middle school, in the 80s. You remember Nancy Reagan and the war on drugs and the ads, this is your brain on drugs? So I grew up thinking all drugs were bad, and I was a straight A student, and nobody in my family does drugs, or so I thought. And after college, I moved back home with my mom to get my shit together. And the thing you gotta understand is that when I grew up in the hills of El Cerrito, it was just me, my mom, my sister. My dad had passed away when I was just 10 years old, and so it was just the three independent ladies at home. My mom was a businesswoman, but she was also a gardener, and she had the most beautiful flowers on the block. And so when I moved back home, things were cool because my mom had been actually my best friend when I was a kid. And we got along great, so I thought. And so one day after a business trip that my mom had taken, I come back home to find a really strange smell coming from the TV room. Now, there was a closet in the TV room, and it smelled like a family of skunks had moved into the closet in the TV room. And it turns out that my mom had, on one of her business trips, taken a side trip to Amsterdam and bought a tiny little greenhouse. And you could grow one little marijuana plant in it. And my mom was growing pot in the closet in the TV room. And it stank. And I was so mad. I was like, how can I ever go in the TV room now? And, so that was really upsetting. There was this tension between us because drugs are bad. Mom's growing drugs. And not only that, but she's a gardener, so she was experimenting and growing it in the backyard too. So one time, my mom went on another business trip, and that's when she asked me to get involved. She said, will you water my plants? And I was like, no, I'm not going to enable you by watering your plants. So the tension between me and my mom grew. She wanted to grow her plants and smoke her pot and experiment, and she wanted to be her own person and do her own thing. And I made haste to move out. And that was fine for about a year. And then my mom called me up and said that she was having trouble buttoning her button. And I had just been reading a book that had been a bestseller at the time called Tuesdays with Morrie. And it was about a man with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. I see some nodding. Some people know this book. It was a bestseller in the year 2000. And my family has always enjoyed a sort of more morbid humor. So I said, God, I hope it's not ALS. And it was ALS. So when her diagnosis was confirmed, that was the first sign of it. She lost the motor control in her thumb and was having trouble buttoning her button. And so after that diagnosis was confirmed, I took the opportunity to just drop all my shit. And I started paying attention to my mom and our relationship. And I started going and visiting her every week. And one of these weeks, some time has passed now, she's sitting in her wheelchair, And she asks me to take her frequent flyer miles because she's never going to be able to use them. A little mother-daughter guilt there. And go to Amsterdam. And maybe while I was there, I could pick up some hash and bring it back. And she saw my face, and she says, I'll tell you my foolproof method. So I went there. But I was too chicken to try the foolproof method, so I thought first I'm going to try and do it by the mail. And I went and I got a birthday card, even though it wasn't her birthday, and it's one of these tri-fold cardboard birthday cards with the cartoons in the middle. And I went to one of the coffee shops, what they call dispensaries in Amsterdam, and I got a little tiny sliver of hash in a plastic bag, and I put it in the tri-fold birthday card. It was all in Dutch. She wouldn't even be able to read it. And I went to the post office. And I'm standing in line in the post office, and I'm getting more and more nervous. And as I get closer and closer to the front of the line, I'm starting to really sweat. And I hand my sealed envelope to the clerk. And he looks at it, and he looks at me, and he says in broken English, "You can't mail that without a stamp." So I buy the stamp, and he puts it on the envelope, and off it goes in the mail, and I've just committed the crime of smuggling drugs through the U.S. Postal Service. So once I've done this, I feel pretty confident, and I'm going to try the foolproof method. So I have my map of all the coffee shops that my mom had used to go to, and I go and I get all the different kinds of hash and all what kinds she wanted, and then I buy a box of condoms, and I go back to my hotel room. And so my mom had given me, even though I was only in Amsterdam for 3 days, a full-size bottle of Clairol Herbal Essences hair conditioner. And it comes in an opaque pink bottle. And so what you do is you take the Clairol Herbal Essences shampoo conditioner and you pour it into the glass they give you at the hotel. And then you take the condoms and you take the baggies of hash and you stuff them in the condoms and you knot up the condoms and then you poke it all down into the empty bottle and then you pour the pink stuff back on top so it's all covered and you seal up the cap and you throw it in your checked luggage, and that's the foolproof method. Well, when my mom was doing it, nobody would suspect a little old gray-haired lady on a business trip. But when I did it, I'm like 30 years old, and this is just after 9/11, like a few months after 9/11. And there was tons of airport security. And so back at San Francisco Airport, they had my bag and they said they needed to check it again. They took me off to the side to the x-ray machine. And now I'm starting to really get nervous. I'm thinking, what if they catch me? Don't act nervous, don't act nervous. What do you do when you try not to seem guilty? You offer to help. So I said, do you want me to open it? No. They put it on the belt, and it went through the x-ray machine, and it came out the other side, and nobody noticed any baggies of hash in a shampoo bottle, I'll tell you that much. So then I drive home, and my mom is waiting for me, and she's smiling. She's sitting in her wheelchair. Her eyebrows are raised because she's already received the Dutch birthday card. And I cut open the condoms and take out the baggies of hash, and they are perfect. And so I lay them all out on the counter, all these different slivers of pressed hash in a little plastic baggie. And I tell her where each one is from and which coffee shop it's from and what kind it is. And she's smiling, and she's so excited, and she's so happy, and I'm happy for her. And it's a really, really sweet moment. It's just really sweet. My mom passed away in 2002, and I think she would be so proud of me today and very impressed by my garden.